get the fuck off of there.
Saying the neighborhood is one of the largest military housing units in the world. Here is what we know so far. There have been multiple fatalities from the crash, and they all appear to be from the plane itself. That's information we're getting from the San Diego Assistant Fire Chief. Several homes and cars have been destroyed. Over 100 people have been displaced as a result of the crash. First responders are currently searching for victims and part of the plane.
Nasty crash there in San Diego. A Cessna jet crashes into several homes in a military neighborhood. In that, famous band member was on board, and I think they owned the plane that was on this particular flight. It appears the 3 people that were killed were on the ground, or I mean in the plane, not on the ground, excuse me, of that. So yeah, ID as Sound Talent Group. Why did it stop? Co-founder, drummer was part of one of the ones killed in that very nasty plane crash. Naked man terrorizing residents in SoCal. KTLA5 report, here we go.
This young naked man has been terrorizing young women here in this Baldwin Park community. Cases have been in the same general area near Puente Avenue, which is a major street through town. In at least one case, this guy became very aggressive, trying to get into the car of a young woman as she was sitting in the driver's seat. And so far, police have made no arrests. Surveillance footage shows a young woman arriving home just after 11:30 p.m. on April 27th in Baldwin Park. At the home she shares with her parents. She stops to open the front gate and then continues to park in the driveway. What she doesn't know is that a naked man is about to walk up to her, touching himself. She describes it as the scariest moment of her life.
This is getting far too common and ridiculous. No arrests, and this has been happening all across the neighborhood there in Baldwin Park and the surrounding areas. Come on, cops, let's get on the ball. Let's get these clowns off the street and in jail where they belong. Gavin Newsom's electric car wet dream is going down in flames as John Thune in the U.S. Senate said, go screw off Newsom. There's going to be no electric car mandate in California. In fact, we may be just going into overdrive on drill, baby drill. Here we go.
Block California's rule banning the sale of new gas-powered vehicles by 2035. This comes as President Donald Trump continues to support the use of fossil fuels. And right now, California Governor Gavin Newsom and Attorney General Rob Bonta are holding a press conference in response to the vote. The Senate ended up taking action under the Congressional Review Act, which required a simple majority vote rather than the 60 votes such action would usually require. The resolution will now head to Trump's desk, where he is expected to sign it.
Oh, Trump will have a hell of a ceremony on this one. A press conference, this may be one of his best, when he signs the bill that blocks California's gas car ban. And it cannot come none too soon. We'll have more on this later. Some of Newsom's reaction and BS Rob Bonta and the crew. Well, here's one short. We'll do this before we get into the heavyweight stuff. Here's his initial reaction. Here we go.
Administration. We didn't expect the path, however, that they would take in this instance. This notion of a CRA, which if you're paying attention, then you're confused. No one understands what a CRA is, and that's what this is also all about. There's confusion. It's intent.
There is no confusion, ding dong. Your stupid policies are going down in flames. That's why your popularity and nobody wants anything, well, hardly anybody wants anything to do with you because you're such a nutcase and have ruined the state of California, maybe even beyond repair. And we know what the first one is. Yes. Senate blocks California from banning the sale of new gas-powered cars by 2035. Good black Labrador Retriever. They're some of the best dogs you can ever have. Here he is fending off a pack of coyotes. As you see, as he's doing that, looks like they're fairly young. Coyotes are usually bigger than that when they're full grown. But there's a pack of them, and the lad is not letting them get anywhere near his home. He's protecting them. Black Labs, some of the best dogs you can ever own. And, oh, it looks like it. Oh, one more. The big, beautiful bill did pass today, or very early this morning. Here's the announcement by Mike Johnson. The budget will go for another year. I hope Trump follows through on his promise to make more cuts by executive order, because the spending, well, we'll see as it goes through the Senate, but Senator Ron Johnson saying no mas on this until we cut more spending. So there's the vote.
On this vote, the yeas are 215, the nays are 214, with one answering present. The bill is passed.
There it is. The big, beautiful bill is out of the House, going into the Senate. We'll see if Trump gets a victory or can get it through that point. We shall see if it will happen. On with the rest of the show. There's that Foundation Live guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5 on the Evil P Network, Rumble. I don't know about X yet. YouTube, all that good stuff. Will be joining the Mighty Met 1490 AM at the bottom of the hour, as we usually do. Oh, lots of good things. Cervantes update. We'll get to that in a minute. Again, politicians, well, anything with politicians can be stranger, because there's some pretty strange ducks. We'll get on with that. Maybe we'll cover some of the Joe Biden. You know, people have beat it, well, pretty much beat it to death. But I want to throw a few things in on that. I mean, I don't want to try to repeat the 9,432 things, and we know. We knew Joe Biden wasn't mentally sharp when he ran in 2020. That's why they had to do the COVID con. By 2024, 4 years later, obviously when you have cancer, now that we know, when you're in cognitive decline, meaning you're losing your marbles, those conditions don't, and when you're 80-something years old, those conditions just flat, barring some sort of miracle, don't reverse. They just keep deteriorating. So there was no justification for anything to have him on the ticket. He shouldn't have run in 2020. He should have got out of the way in 2024. I mean, in a way, I'm glad he didn't, because I think in both cases, in 2016 and 2024, Trump had the candidate in both ones, in Hildebeest and the Stupid, were the two most easiest candidates for him to beat, or the ones that he had the best path to victory. But there's a lot of intrigue. A lot of this stuff was known. But really, the big story, more than the Joe Biden, is most of the dominant mainstream mockingbird stupid media, that their job was supposed to bring this stuff out, and they didn't. In fact, they were complicit in covering it up, just like with the Hunter Biden laptop and all that, fake news and all the false crap they point fingers at with everybody. And now they're trying to, what's really fascinating is they're trying to write books and go on TVs like they didn't know. Or, oh, the White House was just telling us Joe was sharp as a tack. Well, you're with him. You're reporting on him. You're asking him questions. He's going, yeah. Wanders off, doesn't know which end of the stage to go on, has to have Jill or somebody escort him off. I mean, what in the hell? There was no question, at least in my mind, that there was nothing but, there was just hardly nothing there up in his head. I mean, he'd get flashes of this, and then he'd wonder, well, what am I doing here? The old James Stockdale deal from 92. But that was something else. We'll get into that maybe a little bit later on in the show. Get some of the clips out there. But it was fascinating that they kept beating that horse. And I don't know, maybe they just want to completely kill their credibility. They want to stomp it into the ground, not see any more of it, or what have you. Gavin Newsom. We ran the clip earlier of the Senate passing the no ban on gas and diesel powered cars that California started, and I think Washington and a few other states jumped on board with, a few stupid states. John Thune, head of the Senate Majority Leader, and the Senate passed and said, no, you can't do that. California, you're out. B.S. Rob Bonner, our Attorney General, and Newsom were back in the deal. Oh, we're going to sue. We're going to do this, that, and the other. Here's a little bit more from Mr. Sanctimonious, as we say.
Was sworn in. We anticipated being back here, quite literally back here on this roof, announcing what happens to be the 23rd lawsuit against the Trump administration. We didn't expect the path, however, that they would take in this instance. This notion of a CRA, which if you're paying attention, then you're confused. No one understands what a CRA is, and that's what this is also all about. There's confusion. It's intended to be confusing. What is a GAO?
This stuff is not that hard. Just parliamentary procedures. And for once, the Republicans, which Mitch McConnell, except in the Merrick Garland Supreme Court justice deal, would not do. I'm pleasantly surprised with Thune that he did in the Senate. It's not an executive order from Trump. That's a declaration passed by the U.S. Senate and the House of Representatives. So you know what, Gavi? Most likely you are screwed. Now, our Supreme Court's been flaky lately, so I wouldn't say it's 100% out of the picture that we could be there. But I'm saying when it's the House of Representatives passes it and then the U.S. Senate stamps it, I mean, unless you can show they do not have authority to do this, and I think under the Interstate Commerce Clause they do, you're going to be screwed. Here we go.
What is a parliamentarian? What the Senate did has been referred to correctly as a nuclear option. They decided to change the rules that have been established in the United States Senate, protocols that have been well established for centuries, in order to attack California, in order to pollute more.
They did not do this in order to attack California or pollute more. They did it because it was a stupid policy. And you're taking away people's freedom of choice to drive the cars they want to drive, the cars they can afford, the cars that there's a reasonable expectation they will have fuel or energy to run them when you don't with electricity. You don't have enough power generation to run what you got. I don't want to hear, oh, would you oh, you can charge your car and have lunch and you're doing this. Shut up. I don't want to take 30 minutes, an hour and a half when I can go to the filling station and in 5 minutes be in and out. And I'm good for another 400, 600, 800 miles. You know, this sign, Trump's GOP isn't making America smoggy again. You know, this guy is the height of frickin' stupidity. And I'm trying to be nice about it. But he's like, I don't know. I've never seen quite too much. Maybe Arnold, or former California governor. I guess we seem to breed these types. Since Arnold, I don't remember somebody with as much hubris and just out and out BS as this guy. Anyway, hear more from the news. Here we go.
Rigorous and sound argument. AG can talk more about that. We concur with the GAO and the Senate parliamentarian. This has never been used, CRA, for waivers, period, full stop. Thune knows this. He knows what he's just done. He knows the recklessness of what he just did, and he knows the impact that will have in the Senate on rules going forward. It will be profound and outsized. Watch this space going forward for decades to come. And we'll continue to lead. Our authority still is vested. This is just around these three specific waivers. We're still moving forward with ACC 3.
If you're getting a waiver, ding dong, you're getting a waiver from the federal government. Well, they just pulled the frickin' waiver on you. Congress did it. So again, I don't know where you're coming up with this hocus pocus. They didn't have the authority. If it didn't require a waiver to do it, that Joe Biden, who was tripped out of his tree, gave the state of California, gave Newsom this ability to do it, you'd have been sunk. It's, again, he's just blowing smoke. And a lot of smoke. Some of the things he tries to pull off on this are stunning in the intellectual dishonesty that they come apart with. When Biden gave him the waiver, they were cheerleading. Now that the waiver's been revoked, fortunately for Californians, we're all having a hissy fit. I wish they would
I
do
think
this.
we're capable of doing extraordinary things. As I said, the answer is no. As I said, in every instance, I'll give you a specific example. We had a numeric goal of 1 million electric vehicles. We exceeded that goal in our timeline. We had a 1.5 million electric vehicle goal for 2025. We blew past that 2 years early. In just 2 years, we went from 1 million to 2 million electric vehicles. This market is radically changing. You've seen the global markets, over a quarter of the global market, all the sales, 50% in countries like China. The market is moving in this direction.
That's because China is building coal-fired, polluting, you can't even hardly see 2 feet in front of you, electricity plants to run this stuff. Now, you want to talk about making America or California smoggy again. They're not doing it with solar panels or wind. They're doing it with dirty coal. And they have not even off the charts amount of cars that we do in the US or California per capita. On top of that, General Motors, Ford, Toyota are saying, hey, we're done with this electric car stuff. We can't sell them. Nobody wants to buy them. Yeah, we're selling these things and record pace, but to get to the ramp up point that you're talking about would be broke. No cars, zip, zero, nada.
It's the backbone of autonomy. All that energy and entrepreneurialism, all that mobility, the opportunity to have two-way charging networks, the opportunity to feed back in the grid. It's an opportunity to completely reimagine, as I said, mobility and transportation and energy. It's the opportunity to lower costs, operating costs, and continue our pace.
The cost of the electricity is the highest in California and going higher because we're trying to do it on solar and wind. If this was to work, again, you would have to be building nuclear power plants from San Diego to Eureka, probably every quarter mile. That's probably the main reason this is not going to work. Car companies could build the cars, even if the people wanted to buy them. 40 million cars or whatever we sell per year. Just in the US, whatever the number is, it's a tremendous amount. And, even if you're at 2 million, that isn't even a dent in the bucket. What are you at 5%? How are you going to get 95% more you've got to go to meet the demand? And again, there's no fuel, energy to run your electric cars. There is no clean energy to do it. Just because there's no exhaust pipe coming out of an electric car does not mean it's not burning fossil fuels. Most of our electricity either comes off of coal or natural gas, which are, stupid Newsom, fossil fuels. The ignorance of this whole thing would be stunning, except this is California. And we all know how that goes. Maybe we'll get to it tomorrow. Scott Adams really delved into the whole whites are racist, shaming racists, everything white people do is just, and that's a stupid concept to begin with. Like South Africa and the whole thing, the racist country it is. Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Reports done some more, and we'll get into it some today. Maybe we'll get into it a little bit more tomorrow or next week. Keep saying that. I got 9,000 things to do. But he did some polling and some very interesting, along with Trump approval. Even on the RCP Real Clear Politics average, it's only a -2. Most, if you take the reputable pollers, not the phony artists who were trying to do the false narrative, at the 100-day mark, it was like, oh, that's when all the phony polls from YouGov and ISIS or whatever the hell they are, Morning Consult, CBS, ABC News, CNN. Oh, Trump's got a negative 142 approval rating. It's so basically, and it's been maintaining right at about 50% through his whole presidency. And that's where it is today. So here's some from Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen Reports, putting some numbers on the charts. Here we go.
Yeah, he's back at net zero, and that's exactly where I have him today. This is the right answer. If you strip out Ipsos, Washington Post, all those guys, this is the right answer. But let's talk about...
And that was another guy, another pollster, that's not his poll, which is almost exactly the same. And he went on to show the whole thing of where the 100-day mark was. Get me on here, maybe. At that 100-day mark, and they wanted to create a narrative that, oh, Trump's presidency's collapsing in this. And he was about -7 on all the phony ones. Now that that's over and that didn't work, now we're back to normal. We are a divided era, as Tom Del Beccaro said. I mean, we got a 50-50 country, but some of the numbers Mitchell's putting up here are truly fascinating, so here we go.
About what we're here for, race. This was put out, this is Patrick Ruffini, he's a pollster, Echelon Insights, Washington, D.C. based, I believe. Coalition of the Ascendant, 2012 to 2024 swing by group from Catalyst US. Some top swinging GOP groups. Well, let's just look at the chart. Red is a move towards Republicans. Blue is a move away. And obviously some of these groups are bigger than others, but there's a lot to look at here. Let's try and zoom in. Oh, it's not going to let us. Hold on. Boom. Hispanic men 18 to 29-year-old. 36 points towards Trump, towards Republicans. That's machismo. Young Hispanic men did not want to vote for Mitt Romney. But now when there's MAGA, now when there's a border wall, now when there's a crackdown, 36 points towards Republicans.
So let's pick it up right there. As Mitchell said, younger Hispanic males from Romney to Trump have shifted 36 points to the center-right freedom and liberty types. And he said it, machismo. They think Trump, they look at Trump as a real man. Doesn't back down, doesn't candy coat his words, isn't afraid to use the word retarded or whatever. Or call out the South African racist president. Say, you know what, sir? Here's the videotape evidence that you and your country are racist. And they have respect for that. They respect somebody who's actually honest and true to his word. More from Mark Mitchell at Rasmussen Reports.
Absolutely unbelievable. Black men, black 30 to 44-year-olds, 33 points right.
Almost the same, 33 points, 36 points for younger to middle-aged black and Hispanic males. Same thing. Black males see a guy like Trump and they have respect for him because he's not a weenie. He's not trying to act like a woman. He's not running around with emotional this and that and da-da-da-da-da. No. He isn't afraid to tell you or answer the questions. He doesn't hide in the corner. And of course, especially with the black males, because they've been hollering about this, when they tried busting his ass and tried putting him into jail, they said, well, we've been dealing with this for decades. So he became part of their club, thanks to the Democrats trying to overreach on that. More from Mitchell.
Non-college educated Hispanic, 30 points. Hispanic men, 30 points. Rural black men, 30 points. I mean, just look at these. It's incredible. Every minority group. Suburban Hispanic voters, urban black men, 22 points towards.
Urban black men, 22 points. Urban, that means Chicago, Los Angeles, Harlem, St. Louis, Memphis. And the same reason. It isn't, it's across the board. Every minority group has shifted to the center, right, and freedom and liberty types in the last 12 years.
Republicans. Like, it just goes on and on. It's on and on. Gen Z millennials, 16 points to the right. People who live in rural areas, 17.
Gen Z millennials, 17 points. The Zoomers. And rural older folks, which were about the most conservative center-right freedom and liberty types you have even shifted 15 points even further than that.
Points. White single men, 15 points. I mean, like, this is just, it's exactly what you think it was. Turns out that when society wages a war against men and objectivity and people who don't live in big cities like New York and people who are required to put food on the table, people who want to build families. Look, rural 65 and older, 11 points to the right. But I don't see any other 65 and older here. That's a clue. All these groups, other race 65 and older, 3 points to the right, starting to get down to zero. But this is the coalition that Trump built. These numbers are mind-blowingly large.
This is what the left, the center left, is afraid of. They're losing their core constituency. Trump is building on top of that. pulling in the strongest groups that have voted center left as stupid. He's pulling them in while even expanding his base. So I'm saying this is not a Republican movement. It is a MAGA movement. So those of you in the Republican Party or the traditional, don't get too cocky over this or thinking you are the ones that are doing this. Take it as a clue of how you should do this. More from Mark.
Suburban Hispanic voters, Hispanic women, Latino women. Let's look at the blue numbers. White college women, 12 points to the left.
There you go. This is why they've been pushing the college, whatever. Now you get transgender, the fruitcakes, the fruitcake degrees you can get to. I'm a butch cut, no toenails, tattoos up the kazoo, spikes coming out of me, totally weirdo. And I can get a PhD in that you guys are paying for, and then I want the loan. You know, loan me $100,000 so I can go and tell you you're an idiot for wanting to start a family and act like a normal person. This is why the push for college education.
12 points to the left. Maybe Hillary Clinton pushed them there and they stayed. I think this has something to do with mass formation, however. White, 30 to 44-year-olds, 11 points to the left. White, college educated, 8 points to the left. Suburban, 65 and older. These are the soft targets. These are the people watching MSNBC. We're going to take a look. White women, white married women, 6 points to the left. They want to keep their abortions. White college men. This isn't just like the single cat lady. I mean, they would be up here if cats were on this chart. But it's pretty much every white group here. White 18 to 29-year-olds move to the right 2 points. White men move to the right 5 points. Every other group. White 65 and older, white single women, urban white, suburban white, white college men, white women, white married women. This is like white guilt. That's what happened.
This is exactly right. This was the whole Barack Obama started, well, really cranked up in 2008. Oh, if you don't vote for Obama, you're a racist. Oh, he's going to cure us all. Put the biggest racist we've ever had as president. And I don't care about the ones that own slaves or whatever. That was a different time and place. Barack Obama, the biggest racist we've ever had, and it was sold on you, and he got in there because of white guilt. They shamed enough people, like they're doing today, like they're trying to do, like they said, Trump is evil, Joe Biden, smartest guy up there, right up till the time he pulled out. What, in June or July of 24? Oh, he's a Jake Tapper, now trying to write a book. What a bunch of frickin' frauds! And all of you in that category, white women, men of college education, you are fools. You are stupid. You are buying into whatever. Take any dictator, Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, Hugo Chavez, Ping Pong, Mao. You're buying right into it. You are communist, dictator, control artist, subhuman debris. And that's what I'm saying. Because that's what that is. That is taking away. You want to take away the rights. You want to take away your God-given natural freedom right. However you want to view the world. To make your own decisions. And you will shame people, you will lie, you will cheat, you will steal. to get that objective. So in the whole tranny deal and the boys and the girls sports and locker rooms, it's all designed to break you down.
The world went woke and white guilt was weaponized. Weaponized white guilt. That has been the operation. Convince everybody that they're oppressors. Convince everybody that there needs to be racial equity.
There it is. Oppressors. Weaponized white guilt. If you're not on board our team, you're a racist. You're a homophobe. War against a straight white male.
Social justice. And not only that, it's what everybody in your college believes. It's what everybody in your TV believes.
Yes. It's what they've been teaching your kids in school. That's why you see what's going on at Martin Luther King High School. It's because we have allowed that. We have not put up a big enough fight. We've elected these yin-yangs to make your kids stupid, to make them racist, to make them follow an ideology that will destroy their future. They will burn down your cities. They will do whatever it takes. They will take your property. They will shut down your freeways. They will loot, rape, and pillage and kill you if you don't comply. Tell me how that has any virtuous quality in a human being if that's what you believe.
It's what everybody at your corporate job believes. Join the club. The way of the future. It's progressive. It's on the cutting edge of and in reality, it's the most regressive thing ever.
There you go. Progressive, and I got to hand it to them. Well, who wouldn't want to be against? Who would be against progress? The progressive, as they call it, movement is the most regressive human movement ever. Because they're trying to destroy the freest, the safest, the most prosperous country in the history of the world, and they want to destroy it. So they can be the kings and queens that run it.
These people joined a completely different religion. It's wild. These are massive, massive moves. And the problem is, as we've talked about, is that it's created two Americas. Now, I don't know what order we'll do this. I do have something fun queued up. Maybe we should start with this. We're going to have to listen through an ad. But just it's okay, in my opinion, for people to say, no, I have a disagreement with you on government policy, right? I can understand that. Maybe you believe more people should have health insurance and less. Maybe you believe that insurance pricing, all kinds of different things, work permits for welfare, that kind of thing. But when it's no, we need to plunder the treasury to right the wrongs that were done.
That's been the whole narrative that's been rolled out. Mitchell has it lock, stock, and barrel in this thing. And he has the numbers. Now we have concrete numbers. Because guys like Mark Mitchell, Rich Barris, will dig in deeper and not just ask the fluff question, which maybe we'll get into tomorrow or next week. Like you said, we can have legit disagreements on policy. But if they're just gonna shout down and steal everything from us and call us names and call us racist and lock
30 seconds, Roy.
we got a problem. As Sean said, we'll be joining the Mighty Met KMET here in a few seconds. We'll get into, maybe I'll comment on some of the Biden stuff. I haven't really done that because everybody else has been talking about it, but I guess I should probably chime in.
Here we go, 10 seconds.
Sense on this deal. Those who support America, patriotswitch.com.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMEP, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the aforementioned AM band. Join your vast video audience on the Evil FB Network, Rumble, I know about X, YouTube, all that good stuff. Man, we got a lot of stuff to go through. The Senate, the United States Senate, and I don't say this very often, maybe is saving California's rear end. John Thune, and I wasn't a big fan of him replacing Mitch McConnell as majority leader, but he shoved it through. The House passed it. He shoved it through the Senate. And I can't wait to see the Trump signing of the bill that tells California and Newsom and B.S. Rob Bonta and the ghost of Mary Nichols and all that to go screw yourselves. If people want to buy gas and diesel cars or whatever they want to buy bicycles, if they want to buy skateboards to get around, that's their business and their prerogative. They passed it through the Senate. Once Trump signs it, Newsom, I believe, will be screwed because he got a waiver from Biden to do this. Now it's went through the House and the Senate to undo it. So barring, which our Supreme Court's been flaky lately, so I wouldn't say it's 100,000% locked in, but pretty close. Maybe we'll get some sanity back in California. I don't like the idea that we have to have the federal government force us into it. But that's where we're at today. Nasty plane crash. Cessna jet crashed into a bunch of homes in San Diego, burned them to the ground. Some, I don't know, it shows you what I know. Or I follow this stuff, just some entertainers group or something. They were three on the plane perished. Last report I said, miraculously, nobody on the ground was killed in that event. So we have that to be thankful for on that. Naked man terrorizing SoCal neighborhoods. And again, cops, district attorneys, whatever it takes, you need to get on this stuff. You just can't let these guys multiply run around doing this stuff all the time. We're not tolerating this crap anymore. Let's roll into some. I haven't commented. Oh, and of course, the big beautiful bill passed Congress this morning, or early this morning. So now the Senate's ball game. We'll see where it's at. I'm not necessarily red hot about it. I think it needs a lot more spending cuts. And I hope, however it comes out of the Senate, that the Trump administration and Russ voted OMB, Office of Management and Budget, and others will use their executive authority to chop it down some more and get rid of some of these ridiculous programs. Plus, we went through, and maybe we'll go through it to more. Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen has shown the dramatic shift in the last 12 years in our politics. And it goes to back up. Now we have now at least I have, and all of us do. Now I have solid numbers to back up a lot of what you've been saying on that I've been on these airways. Well, it's been a couple months, be 9 years, mostly on KMET at some point. think we had about a year or so gap we weren't on. But to back up what I've said, and I will say it again, Barack Obama, the most racist president we've had in United States history. And now we have the numbers to back that up. The lion snakes, on top of that, a push in the racism and stuff, and the great Donald J., who backed up the South African president yesterday, said, oh, here's the videotape of your racist country. But the whole Biden deal, and I don't blame as much, because the Biden family has been a bunch of crooks and thieves, disingenuous, like the vaulted Beau Biden, who died of brain cancer. You know, he was the Attorney General of Delaware. And they covered up his brain cancer. He had, stage 4, which means, hey, you're done. Your time is up. They went on TV. No, nothing's going on. We're going to beat this. It's just a little bit. And he gets it dull and dingy. Oh, Beau was in the military. Beau was this. Beau was that. Not talking about Hunter. Like you can't say anything about it. They were lying about Beau's cancer up until the time he died. And like, oh, something tragic turned right. They knew for months he wasn't doing his job. They're sending him all over trying to get treatments from the best doctors in the world. We know the Bidens are lying sacks of piece of trash. Jake Tapper's trying to do a mea culpa because he was one of the big cheerleaders along with Scarborough on PMSNBC and the whole crew and ABC News. All these clucks that go on that just cluck, cluck, cluck like a bunch of neurotic hens. See if we can get the audio to go. Where is the mute button? I was trying to get Jake to play. Maybe this is it. I love it when they, I think this is the one.
Right. And he came on this show, and you guys had a robust conversation about this. You largely agreed that you'd been hearing things about this, but that there was really no alternative, that Kamala Harris was not up to the job. That's what Democrats were telling you behind the scenes. Joe Biden saw that. Joe Biden said to staffers that he wanted to convince you that you were wrong. And he focused on you like you were a constituency, like you were farmers in Iowa, like you were the Kiwanis Club in New Hampshire. And he made sure that you thought differently. He made sure that you thought differently. I think he did this with a couple people. I think he did it with Meacham. He might have done it with Evan Osnos. He knew that there were people that had to be convinced that he was fine. And he tried to prove that to you.
Every day. Every freaking day. They came on. Jake Tapper, CNN, Scarborough, Mad Cow, Nicole Wallace, Muir of ABC, whatever. Martha Raddatz, George Stephanopoulos. Oh, he's sharp as world's smartest man ever in the recorded history. They said we met with him personally. We talked to him, interviewed him. He's fine. Now they're going on saying, well, you know, they were telling us this. You saw it personally. You were in the White House in the Oval Office. You could see the dude was out of his freaking mind. Holy bejesus bleeping cow on this stuff. It's beyond incredible.
Services Committee member, Senator Mark Wayne Mullin. Senator, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me on. This isn't Texas.
This is not
looks
Oklahoma.
A little bit different. This
not
is
Oklahoma.
true. Very true.
Now, glad to have you here on the lawn of the Pentagon. This story is incredibly concerning on multiple levels. Many will point to, and they should, the administration, the people around Joe Biden in covering up what we just heard in that tape. We'll also point at the media and say how you participate in covering this up. But I also wonder if Special Counsel Robert Hur had a greater obligation to sound the alarm about Joe Biden.
Well, you got to remember, he actually put it in his report. I mean, when he actually said that he feels like the juror would find him incompetent, essentially, by saying they would see this guy as a failing memory and would take pity on him, which is why they chose not to bring the charges to him. It's interesting, though, the timing of them releasing the cancer, right? I said this while we were talking.
So the Robert Hur report, that was, when they busted Trump, or they tried busting him about, documents of Mar-a-Lago. Then they found Joe had them where the Chinese had frickin' access to them, or on his garage. Hur was in charge of the investigation, said, yeah, he's probably as guilty as hell, but I probably can't get a jury to convict him because people are going to see him, he's going to be drooling on himself, going, I can't remember. All the while, we're getting told Biden's sharper than he's ever been. I mean, it's beyond unreal.
And so I go away from that. I see him the next day, interview him. He's doing well. He has a hero's reception in Ireland. I've told you about going in and talking to him for 2.5, 3 hours inside the White House. Far beyond cogent. I mean, really has a better. Well, has
3 hours. He met with him for 3 hours while he was in his worst. And then he comes on the air and they say, he's just fabulous. Well, maybe I was wrong about that. No, you knew, you sat in the camera and looked and lied.
Politics in a way that only somebody who's been doing it since he was 29 years old.
Sure.
We get phone calls at home where the guy is like pounding me because of op-eds that I wrote, et cetera, et cetera. So, I said that this was Biden at his best.
Sure.
That's what I saw.
I don't doubt.
What other people saw. I was obviously wrong. So I'm not sure what my takeaway is here.
How could you be wrong? How could you be wrong, Scarborough? You saw it. You made this crap up. Everybody was seeing it for 4+ years from the time he ran. And you participated in the COVID con to get him elected in the first place when people were saying, hey, you knew it. Your inside people were saying the dude's lost it in 2020. The only way we could get him elected is to hide him in the basement. And then we can once we get control of the White House, he doesn't even know what the crap's going on. We, the deep state, we, the oligarchs, we, the media, can run the country. We will get multi-millionaire rich off this. Get paid $20-30 million by PMSNBC to shout this crap.
The next time, but if you're around a guy for hours and hours and hours, I guess the question is, what's the takeaway here? What did you learn? Because did you pick it up in real time?
So, I saw what everybody else saw, right?
Yes. Now they're trying to write a book that says, we didn't know. They're going on there. Well, yeah, they're hesitating and all this other stuff. I mean, holy bleeping freaking cow. This is beyond unreal.
Just look off the window. And because it was
I mean, how do you get to this point? We know. Obama's guy, Ron Klain, his attorney, his wife, her husband, all Obamaites were running the White House. Ed Martin, the guy that they did. This is why they didn't want Ed Martin running the D.C. office. Well, Trump said, okay, I'll just put him in charge of investigating all you clowns over there. I don't know why they want to screw with Trump. He's not a dummy. You guys convinced yourself he was. And then just sit in the camera and then lie again. You know, I'd have a little bit of respect for Tapper and Scarborough and the crew. They'd have come on there and said, yeah, we were participating in it. We knew the dude was done. They told us, no, you're going to go out there and say, we're going to pay you $20 million a year to go out and say, he's the brightest human being in the history of the world. A second-rate piece of crap senator that's flip-flopped on every frickin' issue. Now he's 80 years old, can't even remember his own frickin' name. I think this is a clip Sean sent me. Let's play this.
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? It had to put on their windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
Again, this guy, well, I didn't get the video on, but forgot to put my sweatshirt on. But that, you heard him. He knew he had it. Who in the hell doesn't? At 80 years old, you're not getting PSA tests. Like I said, once you get over 40, much less 50, 60, you can't hardly get out of a doctor's office without getting a PSA test if you're part of the retarded half of the population. Joe Biden, the president of the United States, oh, well, we didn't test him. They're lying about his medical condition. Getting doctors, they should take whoever's saying this. If he was not tested for PSA at Walter Reed Medical Center, then every doctor that was involved in that should be fired, court-martialed in the military, or whatever they do over there. Like I said, they lied about Beau Biden 10 years or 12 years ago, whenever that was. Oh, he's sharp as a tack. Man, when you get a diagnosis of stage 4 brain cancer, I know that. I mean, I watched my dad die of that here very recently. I know the effects of it. And what they said, once you get to that point, they said, hey, it's over. We just make them as comfortable as we can for whatever time they have left, and that's it. Ask Meghan McCain. Watched her dad die of the same thing. Now, most people, most doctors are saying, when you get to this point, as what's being released now, your time is very short. And prostate cancer is a very slow-growing cancer. So this thing is, to get to that stage, it has been growing on you for years, if not decades. And it is, no medical doctor give medical advice, but if you're in the retarded half of the population, testosterone's going to wind up killing you. And, that's what does that, and that's what, eventually, if you don't die of something, you will die of prostate cancer. Because that's the first thing they do, is if you have prostate cancers, they try to take you or try to block the testosterone or lower your testosterone levels because they promote that kind of stuff. So again, you want to talk about a scientific fact? KCRA3, switching gears, had a update on Riverside Senator Sabrina Cervantes and her DUI arrest yesterday. Here's some of the points. See if it plays.
The crash happened Monday at the intersection of 14th and S Streets. According to Sacramento police, the senator was taken to the hospital for minor injuries. As part of the investigation, they sent officers to the hospital to check in with Cervantes. That's where they cited her with DUI. Sacramento police declining an on-camera interview but sent us this statement. Responding officers contacted Senator Cervantes where they observed objective signs of intoxication and conducted a DUI investigation. From their investigation, officers issued Senator Cervantes a citation for suspicion of DUI. Sacramento police have not said which drug specifically she was cited for. Cervantes is now accusing police of mistreatment. In a statement to KCRA3, she said, "On Monday afternoon, while seeking care in the emergency room after my sedan was T-boned by a large SUV, I was accosted by Sacramento Police Department officers, falsely accused of driving under the influence, and involuntarily detained for several hours at the hospital." KCRA reached out to Sacramento police regarding the allegations. They responded saying, "After reviewing officers' body camera footage, I didn't see any indication Senator Cervantes was accosted by officers. Officers conducted a thorough investigation and remained professional and respectful throughout it." Police tell KCRA3 that Cervantes had blood drawn at the hospital to determine if she had drugs or alcohol in her system. Police initially said it could take several days to weeks to get the results, but have since backtracked, saying they don't have a timeline. Cervantes says she asked for her own test at the hospital. Cervantes went on to say, "I want to be clear, I did nothing wrong. The lab results I saw in the hospital show conclusively I had no alcohol in my system. I expect this to be quickly and justly resolved."
What do you mean? They didn't say you had alcohol in your system. They said drugs. Driving under the influence, my understanding, no lawyer give legal advice, can mean anything. Drugs. You could even prescription drugs. If you prescribe drugs by a doctor and says, "Do not drive while using these," you should not be driving. Could be weed, whatever. You know, just because weed is legal doesn't mean you can get higher than a kite and go out and drive a car.
State Senate Leader Mike McGuire says she has his support.
My understanding is that the lab results have been released. The results show that she was not under the influence of alcohol, was not under the influence of any type of drug or any other substance, and I do believe that her name will be cleared.
So we did reach out to Senator Cervantes about what police said about her having drugs in her system. We have yet to hear back. Now, KCRA3 did request that body camera footage of the incident, and hopefully we will obtain that in the coming.
So we shall see. If the results are released, where are they at? Very simple. If they got the results back already, then release them. Sabrina Cervantes, it's her record. She could release them right now. Back up your play. Then you got the state senator, the leader over there. Oh, yeah. Holy bleeping cow. Get to some of the local genre before we go up. Narco man convicted of 43,000 acre line fire in the Highland line fire on that. Let's see what else is. Oh, swimmer drowns in Lake Paris. Big, humongous fire there on Harley Knox Boulevard in Paris of that. See what else. Oh, 66 Swiss Dairy, a Little League team from Riverside. Cigar business moving from Oak Glen and Banning to North Carolina. Another California business, IE business, Bales, California for North Carolina. We grew up in the 60s. The Cosmo building at RCC's, subject to demolition. State Farm is asking for another increase after the one just got approved. Big, beautiful bill gets passed. Wind Symphony on Liberty coming up in Moval. The alleged cat killer failed to show up in court. Oh, really? How could that be? KTLA 5 this is from the Press Enterprise. 265 arrested in a 2-week 5-county Southern California crackdown on online children exploitation. So good job there. Lake Elsinore Sheriff Station explorers were at the Peace Officers Memorial down in Riverside. So good job there. Great photo from down in the lower desert of that. Yes. Trump signs the bill. Making it okay for people to call people gay and retarded. That's one of our memes for the day. Again, man 60, woman 59 shot outside an Inland Empire home. Of that, welcome to Banning. Rent is too darn high in there. Where can you afford to rent? You can't afford to rent in Banning. Rent is too darn high. City of Harupa Valley, Human Resources Day. They're celebrating on that. Chino police are in church. Oh, Lake Elsinore to Fort Wayne on that. Some stuff going on in Paris. Of course, salute to Indy coming out of Paris Auto Speedway on Saturday. Memorial Day services all across. Another We Grew Up in Riverside. Patterson Park Little League on 67. That'll do it for the local report. Usually say on this Practice Friday, mandatory, you're back here in 23 hours. Why? You're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
The proceeding was a paid.
Yeah, I can't afford an apartment by myself in Banning.
Yeah, if you can't afford, if rent is too darn high in Banning, we're in trouble.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's ridiculous. I rent a small fucking studio in Cherry Valley, and that's almost $1,200 a month, and I'm getting a break. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, that says it all. When you can't afford, when an average person can't afford to live in Banning, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Well, I mean, pay isn't much either here at KMET. So, I mean, I'd have to work 60 hours a week to be able to afford anything like that, And I'm not even getting 40 hours a week, or 40 hours now. So,
I don't know.
yeah.
I never thought I'd live to see this day, but I am.
Yeah. Well, they just decided to put taxes up on your electric too, huh? Did you see that passed?
Don't remind me of that. You're gonna make my head.
All right, Roy. I'll talk to you tomorrow.